You've been praying for breakthrough, asking God why certain relationships keep draining you, wondering why people you loved have suddenly walked away, or why you feel this unexplainable urge to distance yourself from others. What I'm about to reveal will change how you see every painful separation, every confusing ending, every closed door in your relationships. God is surgically removing toxic people from your life right now, and the reason why will shake you to your core. Listen to me closely. There's something happening in the spiritual realm that your physical eyes cannot see. While you've been mourning losses and questioning why certain people disappeared from your life, heaven has been orchestrating a divine extraction. God hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't abandoned you to loneliness. He's been protecting you from soul ties that were poisoning your purpose, relationships that were blocking your destiny, and connections that were designed by the enemy to keep you from everything God has prepared for you. You need to understand this right now. Every person who walks out of your life isn't a loss. Every friendship that dissolves isn't a failure. Every connection that suddenly feels wrong isn't your fault. God is answering prayers you prayed months ago, prayers you prayed in tears when you felt completely alone. He heard every single word, and now He's moving with precision and power to set you free from the weight of relationships that were never meant to go into your next season. The relationships that are ending right now, the people who are showing their true colors, the ones who are suddenly pulling away, these aren't accidents. This is divine intervention. And if you fight to hold on to what God is removing, you'll delay the very breakthrough you've been desperately seeking. Your obedience in letting go is the key that unlocks the door to everything that's been waiting for you on the other side. Here's what Jesus taught that most believers completely miss. In Matthew chapter 10, He said something that sounds harsh to our ears but is actually pure love and protection. He said He didn't come to bring peace but a sword, that He came to bring division even between family members, that anyone who loves father or mother, son or daughter more than Him isn't worthy of Him. Do you know what Jesus was really saying? He was warning you that your commitment to Him would require you to disconnect from anyone, no matter how close, who pulls you away from His purpose for your life. This isn't about being cruel or cold-hearted. This is about spiritual survival. This is about protecting the calling on your life. This is about understanding that God loves you too much to let toxic people contaminate the anointing He's placed on you. And right now, in this season, He's doing the heavy lifting for you. He's removing people you didn't have the strength to walk away from. He's closing doors you kept trying to reopen. He's ending chapters you kept trying to rewrite. Think about this for a moment. Toxic people drain your spiritual energy. They consume the time you should be spending in prayer. They create drama that distracts you from your divine assignments. They plant seeds of doubt about what God has spoken over you. They diminish your faith with their negativity. They criticize the very things God is calling you to do. They make you feel guilty for obeying God. They manipulate you with their needs until you have nothing left to give to your own purpose. God sees all of this. He sees how you've been pouring into broken cisterns while your own soul runs dry. He sees how you've been carrying people who refuse to walk their own journey. He sees how you've been making excuses for behavior that He already told you to flee from. And now, in His mercy and wisdom, He's stepping in to do what you couldn't do for yourself. He's removing the toxic, the draining, the manipulative, the envious, the jealous, and the spiritually dead from your inner circle. But here's what most people don't know. When God removes toxic people, He's not just protecting you from harm. He's making room for divine connections. He's clearing space for relationships that will propel you forward, not hold you back. He's preparing you to meet the right people at the right time, people who will recognize your calling, celebrate your growth, support your vision, and sharpen you like iron sharpens iron. But those people cannot enter your life while you're still bound to connections that should have ended long ago. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine your life as a garden that God has planted. He's put specific seeds in your soil, seeds of purpose, destiny, calling, and divine assignments. These seeds need all the nutrients, all the water, all the sunlight to grow into what they're meant to become. Now imagine toxic people as weeds. They don't just exist harmlessly beside your purpose. They actively steal the nutrients meant for your growth. They wrap around the roots of your destiny and choke them. They block the sunlight of God's presence from reaching the seeds He's planted. A wise gardener doesn't negotiate with weeds. A wise gardener doesn't try to rehabilitate weeds. A wise gardener doesn't feel guilty about pulling weeds. And God, the ultimate gardener of your life, is pulling weeds right now so that what He planted in you can finally flourish the way He always intended. Your only job is to stop replanting what He's pulling up. Wait, there's more Jesus revealed that will set you completely free. In John chapter 15, He uses the metaphor of the vine and branches. He says He is the vine, we are the branches, and the Father is the gardener. Then He says something crucial. Every branch that doesn't bear fruit, the Father cuts off. Every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes so it will be even more fruitful. Do you see what's happening here? God prunes your life. He cuts away relationships, even good ones, if they're preventing you from bearing the fruit you're destined to produce. This means some people who leave your life weren't necessarily evil. They just weren't supposed to go where you're going. They served a purpose for a season, and that season has ended. And if you try to drag seasonal people into lifetime assignments, you'll create unnecessary pain for both of you. God is teaching you right now that not everyone can handle the weight of your calling. Not everyone is equipped to walk where He's taking you. Not everyone has the spiritual capacity to support what He's building in you. The toxic people God is removing fall into different categories, and you need to recognize which ones have been in your life. First, there are the manipulators. These are people who use guilt, obligation, and emotional games to control you. They twist your words, play the victim when you set boundaries, and make you feel responsible for their happiness. God is removing them because your peace is more valuable than their approval. Second, there are the dream killers. These are people who respond to your God-given vision with skepticism, criticism, and doubt. They remind you of every past failure when you talk about future possibilities. They disguise their jealousy as concern. They tell you to be realistic when God is calling you to walk by faith. God is removing them because your destiny cannot be built on the foundation of other people's limitations. Third, there are the energy vampires. These are people who only call when they need something, who dump their problems on you but disappear when you need support, who take and take and take without ever pouring back into you. God is removing them because you cannot fulfill His purpose for you while running on empty. Fourth, there are the spiritually toxic. These are people who mock your faith, tempt you back into old sins, make you feel embarrassed about your relationship with God, and pull you away from church, prayer, and worship. God is removing them because He refuses to share you with influences that lead you away from Him. And this is where it gets powerful. When you cooperate with God's removal process instead of fighting it, something supernatural happens. You stop attracting toxic people altogether. Your discernment becomes sharper. You recognize red flags earlier. You set boundaries without guilt. You value your peace more than other people's comfort. You understand that being alone with God is better than being surrounded by people who drain His presence from your life. Proverbs 13 verse 20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." This isn't a suggestion. This is a spiritual law. The people you keep close will either elevate you or contaminate you. There's no neutral ground in relationships. Everyone in your inner circle is either drawing you closer to God's purpose or pulling you away from it. Everyone is either adding to your life or subtracting from it. Everyone is either cheering for your breakthrough or secretly hoping you stay at their level. God knows this. That's why He's so intentional about who He allows to stay in your life and who He removes. That's why He'll orchestrate situations that reveal people's true character. That's why He'll create distance between you and those who mean you harm, even if they're disguised as friends or family. His love for you is too fierce to let anyone derail the plans He has for you. Now here's the part that changes everything. Your willingness to let toxic people go is actually a form of worship. It's you telling God, "I trust your judgment more than my emotions. I trust your plan more than my comfort. I trust your timing more than my loneliness. I trust your protection more than my need to be liked." When you release who God is removing, you're demonstrating a level of faith that moves heaven on your behalf. Think about Abraham. God told him to leave his country, his people, and his father's household to go to a land God would show him. Abraham had to disconnect from the familiar, from family, from everything he knew. And it was only after he obeyed, after he let go, that God blessed him and made him the father of nations. Your blessing is on the other side of your obedience. Your promised land requires you to leave some people in the wilderness. Think about Ruth. She had to make a choice between going back to her people and her gods or staying with Naomi and Naomi's God. She chose the harder path, the path of disconnection from her past, and that choice led her directly into her destiny. She ended up in the lineage of Jesus Christ Himself. Who you disconnect from determines what you're connected to. Who you release determines what you receive. Stay with me, because what comes next will give you the strength to finally let go. Jesus Himself modeled this principle. There were moments when He pulled away from crowds that wanted to make Him king on their terms. There were times when He left towns that rejected Him and moved on without looking back. There were instances when He prioritized the 12 over the multitudes. And there was even a moment when He had to speak firmly to Peter, calling him Satan, because Peter was speaking against God's plan. If Jesus, who is love incarnate, could set boundaries and disconnect from people who were hindering God's purpose, then you have not only permission but a divine mandate to do the same. You're not being mean. You're not being selfish. You're not being unchristian. You're being obedient. You're being wise. You're being a good steward of the life and calling God has given you. Right now, I need you to get honest with yourself. Who has God been telling you to release that you're still holding on to? What relationship has been draining you that you keep trying to revive? Who has shown you repeatedly through their actions that they don't value you, yet you keep giving them access to your life? What connection makes you feel further from God instead of closer to Him? God is asking you today, right now, in this moment, to trust Him enough to let go. Here's the promise that will carry you through. Isaiah 43 verse 18 and 19 says, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." God cannot do the new thing He's planned for you while you're clinging to the old things He's removing. The new relationships, the new opportunities, the new level of anointing, the new season of blessing, all of it is waiting for you to release what's behind you. When you let toxic people go, you're not losing anything real. You're losing dead weight. You're losing distractions. You're losing obstacles. You're losing counterfeits that were blocking the authentic. And in exchange, God is giving you peace that surpasses understanding, joy that isn't dependent on other people's behavior, strength to stand alone if necessary, and the promise that He will never leave you nor forsake you. The enemy doesn't want you to know this, but your loneliest season is often your most powerful season. It's in the isolation, in the pruning, in the disconnection from toxic people that God does His deepest work in you. It's where He becomes your best friend, your counselor, your comforter, your everything. It's where you discover that you don't need a crowd's approval when you have heaven's attention. It's where you learn that quality matters infinitely more than quantity in relationships. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to stop texting people who never text you first. You're going to stop apologizing for boundaries that protect your peace. You're going to stop explaining yourself to people who are determined to misunderstand you. You're going to stop attending events out of obligation when God is calling you to rest. You're going to stop forcing conversations with people who have already shown you they don't want to grow. You're going to stop making yourself small to make others comfortable. And in the space that's created, in the silence, in the solitude, you're going to hear God's voice clearer than ever before. You're going to receive downloads from heaven that toxic people would have mocked or stolen. You're going to experience a level of intimacy with God that crowded seasons never allowed. You're going to discover gifts and talents that other people's opinions had buried. You're going to step into the fullness of who God created you to be. Your breakthrough begins when you stop fighting God's removal process and start thanking Him for it. When you stop seeing closed doors as rejection and start seeing them as divine protection. When you stop mourning who left and start celebrating who stayed. When you stop trying to convince people of your worth and start walking in the identity God already gave you. God is removing toxic people from your life because He has something so much better planned for you. He's clearing the stage for divine connections that will blow your mind. He's making room for relationships that will feel like home. He's preparing you to meet people who will recognize the treasure you are, who will support your calling without jealousy, who will pray for you instead of gossiping about you, who will celebrate your wins like their own. But you have to let go to receive. You have to release to make room. You have to trust that God's removals are just as important as His additions. You have to believe that He loves you enough to protect you from relationships that look good but are spiritually deadly. You have to know that He sees the future you can't see, and He's removing people who would have destroyed what He's building. This is your moment. This is your invitation to radical obedience. This is your opportunity to show God that you trust Him more than you fear being alone. Heaven is waiting for you to let go. Your destiny is waiting for you to stop carrying dead weight. Your breakthrough is waiting for you to cooperate with divine pruning. Angels are ready to escort toxic people out of your life the moment you stop holding the door open for them. Let them go. Not with bitterness, but with gratitude that God loved you enough to remove what was hurting you. Let them go with a prayer of blessing and a commitment to never compromise your peace for their presence again. Let them go knowing that God has already prepared better, healthier, divinely ordained relationships for your future. Let them go and watch how quickly God fills the empty spaces with His presence and His people. You are not losing anything you were meant to keep. You are gaining everything you were meant to have. And the God who began this good work in you will be faithful to complete it. Trust Him. Obey Him. Let go. And watch what He does next in your life. Your best days aren't behind you. They're ahead of you. And they begin the moment you release what God is removing and embrace what He's bringing. This is your season of divine separation for supernatural elevation. Walk into it with faith, courage, and the absolute confidence that God's got you.